You tell yourself it's because you're being kind, respectful, understanding. But deep down, you know that's not the full truth. It's not just kindness, it's fear. Fear of disappointing people, fear of being disliked, fear of conflict. So you keep shrinking, holding your tongue, saying yes when your whole body screams no. You keep handing out pieces of yourself like it costs nothing, until you look in the mirror and barely recognize who you are anymore. This isn't about being a good person. This is about losing yourself in the process of trying to please everyone else. And it starts so quietly, so invisibly. You say yes to a favor even though you're exhausted. You stay silent when someone crosses a line. You forgive things you shouldn't just to avoid a scene. It all looks so harmless, so small, until it becomes your entire life, until your needs are always at the bottom of the list, until your voice becomes a whisper in your own world. But here's what no one tells you. Being soft to everyone is not noble. It's not strong. It's not love. It's a slow act of self-abandonment, one choice at a time. And you feel it, don't you? That silent resentment building up inside you. That exhaustion from giving too much and getting almost nothing in return. That quiet anger you direct inward because you don't want to make anyone else uncomfortable. You've been conditioned to believe that being agreeable is the right path. That keeping the peace is always more important than protecting your energy. But tell me, where has that gotten you? The truth is brutal. Being soft to everyone will break you, slowly, silently. And the worst part? You'll smile through the entire process, pretending everything's fine while something inside you fades away. There's nothing wrong with kindness, but kindness without boundaries is self-destruction. People don't respect the ones who always bend. They respect the ones who know where they stand. The ones who can be kind but firm, compassionate but clear, generous but not at the expense of their own dignity. If you keep living to avoid making waves, you'll drown in still waters. Because softness, when misused, turns into silence, into suppression, into surrender. And sooner or later you'll wonder why no one sees your worth, why people take without giving, why they assume you'll always be there, always available, always agreeable. But here's the truth that will change everything if you let it. The world treats you how you teach it to. Every time you let something slide that you shouldn't, you teach people that it's okay. Every time you stay quiet when you should speak up, you show them your voice doesn't matter. Every time you sacrifice yourself to make others comfortable, you send a message that your needs come last. You are not soft, you are strong. But you've buried that strength beneath layers of politeness and people-pleasing. And now it's time to dig it out. Because your life is waiting. Your peace is waiting. Your power is waiting. This isn't about becoming cold or distant. It's about becoming real. About standing in your truth without apology. About showing up as someone who values their own time, energy, and soul enough to stop being a doormat for people who never deserved access to you in the first place. Because when you stop being soft to everyone, something amazing happens. You start feeling alive. You start making decisions based on your values, not on their approval. You stop tolerating fake love, conditional respect, and half-hearted connections. You start building a life that reflects who you truly are, not who the world has trained you to pretend to be. If you've ever felt drained by being too nice, if you've ever gone to sleep feeling used, invisible, or unappreciated, if you've ever wondered when it's your turn to feel whole again, then this is your wake-up call. Stop waiting for others to notice your worth. Start acting like it's already undeniable. Because the moment you stop being soft to everyone, you'll realize you were never meant to be small. You were meant to stand tall, speak boldly, and live fully. So don't just listen. Don't just nod. Make a decision, right here, right now, that you will no longer water yourself down for people who are too shallow to handle your depth. Because the day you stop being soft to everyone is the day you finally start being you. You've been the one who stays quiet to keep things smooth, the one who smiles through disrespect, the one who gives second, third, fourth chances because you see the good in people. But what about the good in you? When does your peace matter? When does your voice get heard? They won't stop crossing the line until you decide there is one. And that's the truth most people never say out loud. You're not tired because life is hard. You're tired because you've been carrying people who were never supposed to be on your back. You're tired because you've been showing up for others in ways they never showed up for you. You're tired because you've been soft in a world that feeds on softness. But here's the shift. You can't keep blaming them for how they treat you if you keep letting it happen. Your silence gives them permission. Your softness becomes their invitation. The people who take advantage of you have learned that you won't push back, that you'll fold, that you'll forgive and forget and come back like nothing happened. And maybe you've convinced yourself that being the bigger person means absorbing the pain and moving on. But being the bigger person doesn't mean making yourself smaller. It doesn't mean sacrificing your self-worth just to avoid uncomfortable moments. You weren't born to be their emotional sponge. You weren't built to constantly clean up other people's messes while ignoring the storm inside your own chest. There comes a moment when you stop asking, "Why do they treat me like this?" and start asking, "Why do I allow this?" Because the moment you raise your standards, everything changes. When you decide that your energy is sacred, when you choose to protect your boundaries like your life depends on it, because it does, you stop attracting people who only come around to take. And yes, it's going to feel uncomfortable. Speaking up, saying no, walking away. It will feel like you're breaking a pattern, because you are. It will feel like you're disappointing people, because you will. But that's not a sign you're doing something wrong. It's a sign you're finally doing something right. You cannot heal in the same environment that made you feel small. You cannot thrive while constantly catering to people who only want you when you're convenient. And you cannot keep waiting for them to value you. You have to be the one to decide you're valuable. The truth is, people will take as much as you let them. They don't stop until you make them stop. And if you're always available, always agreeable, always easy to reach and easy to use, you'll find yourself surrounded by people who don't see your value, because you never required them to. But the minute you change how you move, everything shifts. You stop responding to every message the second it arrives. You stop feeling guilty for prioritizing yourself. You stop apologizing for having needs, for setting limits, for walking away from people who don't know how to handle your worth. Because the people who truly respect you won't ask you to diminish yourself. They won't punish you for having boundaries. They won't guilt you for protecting your energy. You don't need everyone to like you. You need to like yourself. You need to live with the kind of quiet power that comes from knowing you won't settle for half effort, half love, or half respect ever again. So stop explaining yourself. Stop overgiving. Stop hoping people will magically change and start treating you better just because you've been nice. That's not how it works. You train people by how you treat yourself. You show them what's allowed. You either set the standard or you suffer under someone else's. You've been soft for long enough. Now it's time to rise. Rise into the version of yourself that doesn't chase, doesn't beg, doesn't lower their voice to fit into someone else's comfort zone. Become someone who commands respect by the way they hold themselves, speak their truth, and choose who gets access to them. Your softness is beautiful, but only when it's protected by strength. Without strength, kindness becomes weakness. Without strength, love becomes martyrdom. Without strength, you will always be at the mercy of the world. But with strength, you become untouchable. So stop being soft to everyone. Start being strong for yourself. Because the day you choose to honor your own worth, you stop waiting for the world to do it for you. There's a reason you feel hollow after giving too much. It's not because you're ungrateful. It's not because you lack strength. It's because deep down, your soul knows you've been betraying yourself for approval that never lasts. You give your time to people who wouldn't give you 5 minutes. You pour out encouragement for those who never notice when you're the one falling apart. You try to be enough for everyone while slowly becoming nothing to yourself. And the brutal truth, no one is going to stop you. No one is going to pull you aside and say, "Hey, you've done enough. Rest, breathe, heal." Because if you've made it easy for them to take, they will keep taking. Not because they're evil, but because you've never demanded more, never shown them there's a limit, never looked them in the eye and said, "That's enough." You think being selfless is noble. But there's nothing noble about being empty. There's nothing honorable about being exhausted, invisible, and overextended. You were not born to carry the weight of everyone's needs while ignoring the cries of your own soul. You were not designed to stretch so thin that even your joy becomes a memory. The cost of being soft to everyone is too high. It steals your fire. It clouds your focus. It makes you question your worth every time someone takes advantage of your silence. You keep asking yourself, why do they treat me like this? When the real question is, why do I keep allowing it? You've forgotten what it feels like to move through life with power in your voice and purpose in your presence. You've learned to be so careful, so accommodating, so agreeable, that your true self has been buried beneath the version of you they find easy to use. But you are not here to be easy. You are here to be whole. You are here to stand in your truth, not beg for someone else's permission to speak it. You are here to walk with your head high, not to lower your gaze for people who can't handle your light. You are here to own your worth, not discount it for the sake of fitting in. You keep thinking that if you just give a little more, they'll see your value, but they won't, because the more you give without boundaries, the less they respect what you offer. It's not your giving that's the problem, it's the lack of limits. A river without banks becomes a flood, and a soul without boundaries becomes chaos. There's no shame in drawing the line. There's no guilt in choosing yourself. You do not owe anyone unlimited access to your time, your energy, or your kindness. You don't have to explain why you need space. You don't have to justify your limits. If someone only values you when you're convenient, they never truly valued you at all. Your softness was never the problem. It was the silence you wrapped around it. So let your silence become strength. Let your softness become sharp, not cold, not cruel, but clear. Because there is nothing more powerful than someone who knows their worth, guards their peace, and speaks without fear. This is the version of you the world needs, not the one who fades into the background to avoid conflict, not the one who sacrifices truth for comfort, but the one who rises, even when it shakes the ground beneath them. You are allowed to outgrow people who only liked you when you were small. You are allowed to leave behind the spaces that made you feel invisible. You are allowed to walk away from roles that drained your spirit in the name of duty. You are allowed to say, I am not available for anything that costs me myself. And when you do, something incredible happens. You stop settling. You stop chasing. You stop explaining. And you start living. Living on your terms. Living with intention. Living as the kind of person who refuses to water down their presence just to be palatable. There will be people who don't like it. Let them. There will be people who call you difficult, selfish, distant. Let them, because the ones who truly see you, the ones who respect your strength, will never ask you to shrink. Don't be afraid to take up space. Don't be afraid to demand more. Don't be afraid to finally say enough. Because the day you stop being soft to everyone is the day you stop apologizing for being powerful. And power, real power, doesn't come from being loud. It comes from being clear, certain, unshakable. And that power has always been inside you, waiting, watching, whispering. Now it's time to listen. There comes a moment in every person's life where they have to make a decision. Keep living on repeat or step into the fire and forge something greater. You've played it safe long enough. You've been agreeable, predictable, manageable. But no one remembers the ones who blended in. No one respects the ones who never drew a line. And most importantly, you won't respect yourself if you keep playing small to protect other people's comfort. You are not made to be passive. You are made to be powerful. That quiet voice inside you, the one that feels angry, restless, ready to rise, that's not weakness. That's your truth begging to be unleashed. Because no matter how soft you try to appear, no matter how polite you try to stay, life will keep pressing you until you push back. The world will test your limits until you define them. People will keep taking until you decide you've had enough. And maybe you've been afraid that if you change, you'll lose people. Afraid that if you speak up, you'll cause tension. But here's the hard truth. The people who disappear when you start respecting yourself were never really there for you. They were there for what you gave them. For your silence, your favors, your compliance. So let them go. Let them leave. Let them call you selfish or distant. You don't need their permission to evolve. Growth is not polite. It is not tidy. It disrupts everything, and it's supposed to. You can't become something greater without breaking away from what's keeping you small. You can't rise while carrying the weight of everyone else's expectations. You can't speak truth while living in fear of who might not like what you say. This is where your strength is built. Not in avoiding pain, but in facing it. Not in pleasing others, but in honoring yourself. Not in staying quiet, but in speaking with conviction, even when your voice shakes. You think being hard on yourself is strength? It's not. Strength is standing up for yourself. It's knowing when to say no. It's refusing to keep peace at the cost of your sanity. It's not about being perfect. It's about being real. You were never meant to be a shadow in your own life. You were meant to be the fire, the force, the one who walks into a room and commands energy not by shouting, but by knowing your value, knowing your purpose, knowing you're no longer going to bend just to keep people from breaking. And yes, it will be hard. You'll feel guilt. You'll feel resistance. You'll want to run back to what's familiar, to softness, to silence, to being liked. But remember this, the version of you that pleases everyone is the version of you that sacrifices everything. The applause isn't worth the pain. The approval isn't worth your peace. What's the point of being liked by everyone if you can't even look yourself in the mirror without feeling resentment? You're not here to live for them. You're here to live for you. That doesn't mean you become cruel. It doesn't mean you shut people out. It means you finally draw the line between kindness and self-sacrifice. It means your heart stays open, but your energy stays guarded. It means you give from overflow, not from depletion. Because the truth is, when you stop being soft to everyone, you create space to be strong for the right ones. The ones who pour back into you. The ones who honor your boundaries. The ones who see your strength and don't feel threatened, they feel inspired. And most of all, you become strong for yourself. You become the person who no longer needs to be rescued, validated, or saved, because you've built something unshakable within, a fire that no one else controls, a worth that no one else defines. So stop asking who you might lose when you become stronger. Start asking who you might find, because on the other side of your fear is a version of you that doesn't need to beg to be seen, that doesn't explain their worth, that doesn't carry guilt for simply being real. That version is already inside you, waiting, watching, ready. You've been soft long enough, now it's time to rise, not with rage, not with noise, but with the quiet, steady power of someone who finally remembers who they are and refuses to forget it again. Most people never reclaim their power because they're too afraid to be misunderstood. They fear the judgment, the whispers, the shifting tones in people's voices when they stop being easy to control. But what they fail to see is this: staying small doesn't protect you, it erases you. You can spend your life walking on eggshells, softening your truth, dulling your edges, just to make others feel comfortable, but one day you'll wake up and realize you've built a life around their expectations, not your vision. That's not peace, that's prison. You've been taught to keep things light, to avoid conflict, to maintain harmony, even if it costs you your voice. But real harmony is not the absence of tension. It's the presence of honesty. And honesty means saying what you mean. It means standing in your boundaries, even when it rattles the room. It means being whole, not just agreeable. And that shift will scare people. Your growth will trigger those who benefit from your silence. Your clarity will make the insecure uncomfortable. Your strength will make the manipulators panic. Let them feel it. That discomfort is not your burden, it's their mirror. Because when you stop being soft to everyone, you stop being available for nonsense. You stop entertaining half-hearted friendships. You stop answering calls that drain your spirit. You stop showing up for people who only remember you when they need something. You stop living on autopilot and start walking with intention. This is what power looks like. Not yelling, not proving, not chasing, just choosing. Choosing yourself, your peace, your growth. Choosing who gets access to you and who no longer fits. Choosing where your time goes and what no longer deserves your attention. Not because you're heartless, but because you finally love yourself enough to stop bleeding for people who wouldn't even notice if you were empty. It's not selfish to protect your peace, it's necessary. You can't serve the world if you're constantly running on fumes. You can't pour into anyone if you're always last on your own list. You can't build something meaningful while carrying the weight of everyone else's chaos. Let this be the season where you reclaim your space, where you stop shrinking to fit into places that require your silence, where you stop apologizing for having standards, opinions, needs, and dreams that don't align with someone else's agenda. You don't owe anyone an easier version of you. You don't owe them the version that bites their tongue, that swallows their fire, that hides their strength just to keep things smooth. You've tried that path. You've lived that life. And you know exactly where it leads: resentment, regret, and quiet self-destruction. There is nothing more painful than watching yourself disappear just to be accepted. There is nothing more soul-crushing than constantly muting your truth to avoid discomfort. That's not love. That's not peace. That's emotional slavery dressed up as politeness. But you're not here to please. You're here to rise, to become unshakable in your standards, grounded in your worth, clear in your intentions. You're here to walk through this world as someone who no longer asks for permission to be whole, who no longer waits for validation to act, who no longer adjusts themselves to fit into rooms they've outgrown. And yes, people will talk. They'll say you've changed, that you're distant, that you're too much now. Let them talk. Let them misunderstand. Let them miss the old version of you that lived for their comfort, because every word they speak in resistance to your strength is proof that your growth is working. You are not here to be liked by everyone. You are here to be respected by yourself. That's the highest form of power, not external praise, not applause, but waking up each day and knowing you stayed true to you. So stand tall in your new standard. Speak your truth with steady conviction. Walk away from anything that no longer reflects your value. Let your actions declare your worth louder than words ever could. The world doesn't need more people who bend until they break. It needs people who know where they stand, who live with purpose, who lead themselves without fear. You've been soft to everyone. Now it's time to be solid for yourself. Let that strength radiate from the inside out. Let it guide every step, every decision, every boundary. You are not here to be used. You are not here to be quiet. You are here to take up space. And the moment you stop apologizing for it, that's the moment your real life begins. The moment you decide to stop explaining yourself, everything shifts. You begin to realize that your worth is not a debate. Your time is not a donation box. Your peace is not up for grabs. You don't owe anyone access to your life just because they expect it. And you don't need to make your strength more digestible so it doesn't upset fragile egos. You've already paid the price for being soft. You've sacrificed your voice, your rest, your clarity, all to keep the waters calm. But calm on the outside means nothing if there's a storm inside you. You've smiled while breaking. You've agreed while dying inside. You've kept showing up for people who would vanish the second you needed them. And that cycle only ends when you say these words with full certainty: I'm done. You're done with being the easy option. You're done with being the one who's always understanding, always forgiving, always available. Because people will never value what they get too easily. They respect what they have to earn. Start making people earn you. Earn your time. Earn your energy. Earn your trust. Not out of spite, but out of self-respect. Because when you start guarding what's valuable, the right people will rise to meet you. And the wrong ones will remove themselves. Let them. You are no longer responsible for holding together what was built on your silence. You are no longer the glue for relationships that crack the moment you assert yourself. You are no longer here to be the emotional caretaker of people who refuse to take responsibility for their own chaos. It's time to build your life around standards, not around people, because people will come and go. Their moods will shift, their loyalty will be tested, their intentions will change, but your standards, those are your foundation. They don't bend, or they don't blur, they don't vanish under pressure, they remain firm no matter who stands before you. And if someone can't meet those standards, that's not your loss, it's their exposure. It reveals who they really are. And you need to see that, because when you're too soft, you stay blind. You ignore red flags, you excuse patterns, you call it love when it's really just emotional labor with no return. You've done enough, you've been nice enough, you've tolerated enough. And it's time to stop negotiating your worth like it's a discount. The more you lower your price, the more you attract people who can't afford you. Not because they lack money, but because they lack maturity, effort, and integrity. This life is not about pleasing the world. It's about building a world that pleases your soul, that nourishes you, that empowers you. And that begins when you cut the rope tied to people who only show up when it benefits them. It begins when you walk away from situations where your loyalty is used against you. It begins when you realize that your softness must be protected, because when it's not, it becomes your prison. Power is not loud. It's not flashy. It's not forceful. True power is when you can walk away in silence, knowing you deserve better and never look back. It's in the stillness of your conviction. It's in the calm way you say no. It's in the clarity you carry when you're no longer desperate to prove anything. You don't need to prove your kindness. You don't need to prove your loyalty. You don't need to prove your love. You've proven it 100 times over, and it still wasn't enough for the people who only take. So stop proving, start protecting. Protect your future from the people who drain your present. Protect your mind from the noise that tells you to stay small. Protect your heart from the cycle of overgiving and under-receiving. You are not too much. You are not too hard. You are not the problem just because you finally drew a line. The problem was the version of you that didn't know you could, and now you do. So rise, set the standard, hold the line, make it clear that you will not betray yourself just to keep anyone in your life. Because when you stop being soft to everyone, you start being real to yourself. And that is the beginning of everything. You were not born to be tolerated. You were born to be respected. Every time you shrink yourself to fit someone else's comfort zone, you betray the very power that was placed inside you for a reason. You dilute your presence, soften your edges, censor your truth, and for what? To make others feel more secure in their smallness while you carry the weight of your silence? You were not meant to be a mirror for someone else's insecurities. You were meant to be a force, a presence that commands alignment, not permission. Your energy is not meant to be explained, toned down, or trimmed to fit someone else's expectations. And the sooner you stop asking for approval, the sooner you will realize you already are what they can't handle. Not because you're wrong, but because you're real. And real always disrupts the comfortable. It exposes the fake. It stirs the shallow. It triggers the unhealed. But you are not responsible for how your truth makes others feel. You are only responsible for honoring it, speaking it, living it, unapologetically. Stop asking the world to validate the fire inside you. They didn't ignite it, so how could they possibly understand it? Your journey, your battles, your strength, your evolution, none of it requires confirmation. You don't need claps, likes, or followers to know you're doing what's right. You know it in your bones when you stop betraying yourself to please everyone else. They won't always understand why you're changing. Let them stay confused. You weren't made to be understood. You were made to elevate, to break patterns, to outgrow limits, to become the version of yourself that doesn't play small for love that's conditional, that doesn't water down truth for the sake of peace, that doesn't wait for the perfect moment to rise, but rises because the moment demands it. You will lose people when you choose yourself. That's a guarantee. But understand this deeply. Anyone who leaves when you start growing was never with you in the first place. They were with your convenience, your compliance, your comfort, not your core. And once your core begins to shine, once your power becomes visible, they'll call you difficult, arrogant, selfish. Let them. Wear their criticism like a badge of alignment, because their discomfort is proof that you're no longer playing the role they cast you in. You don't owe anyone the version of you they're used to. You owe yourself the version of you that's true. There is no reward in being endlessly available, endlessly forgiving, endlessly tolerating. That isn't strength. That's slow self-destruction dressed as loyalty. And loyalty to others should never come before loyalty to yourself. You can be kind without being exploited. You can be loving without being depleted. You can care deeply and still walk away when respect is no longer served. That's not being cold, that's being conscious. Because you finally realize your energy is sacred, your time is sacred, your presence is sacred, and not everyone deserves access to it. You are not here to carry people who refuse to walk. You are not a life raft for those who won't even paddle. You are not the fixer, the rescuer, the constant giver, while your soul bleeds dry in the background. That season is over. The season now is reclamation. Reclaiming your peace, reclaiming your power, reclaiming your voice that's been muffled by years of people-pleasing, guilt, and fear. Let the old version of you fall apart. The one who tolerated too much. The one who smiled when they wanted to scream. The one who stayed quiet to avoid conflict. That version kept you alive, but this version will make you free. And freedom begins when you finally say, I am not afraid to be alone, if it means I'm no longer abandoning myself. I am not afraid to disappoint others if it means I finally approve of me. I am not afraid to draw the line, speak the truth, raise the bar, because this life isn't a rehearsal. This is it. This is the moment. This is the decision. You don't become powerful by waiting for others to choose you. You become powerful when you choose yourself. Loudly, clearly, and without apology. When you stop waiting to be picked and start becoming undeniable. When you realize the seat you've been begging for was always yours, you just needed to stop asking and start owning. Let this be the day you stop negotiating your worth. Let this be the day you stop giving discounts to people who can't afford your truth. Let this be the day you become unavailable to anything that drains you, doubts you, or disrespects the fire inside you. Because you are not here to be liked. You are here to be legendary. Every time you compromise your truth to keep others comfortable, a part of you disappears. You weren't born to be a shadow in someone else's light. You weren't built to constantly bend, shrink, and adjust yourself to fit in places where your power is unwelcome. And yet, that's what being too soft does. It teaches you to apologize for your strength. It teaches you to fear confrontation more than you fear regret. But real strength doesn't live in silence. It roars in conviction. It stands tall even when others flinch. It's not about being rude. It's about refusing to betray your soul just to make someone else feel okay. You've got dreams to chase, not egos to soothe. You've got battles to win, not opinions to please. People will always want you to play small because your presence threatens their comfort zones. They'll call you too much, too cold, too focused. But those words are labels from people who gave up on themselves. Their judgment is not your mirror. You weren't meant to be liked by everyone. You were meant to be respected by the right ones. And respect doesn't come from saying yes to everything. It comes from saying no when it matters. It comes from owning your space without guilt. The world doesn't reward people who stay silent to avoid judgment. It rewards the ones who show up bold, clear, and unshaken by noise. Stop seeking validation from people who haven't walked your path. Stop lowering your standards to be more relatable. You don't need to be relatable, you need to be real. The raw, unfiltered version of you. The one that doesn't flinch when the world stares back. That version isn't weak. That version is unstoppable. You don't owe everyone kindness at the cost of your own peace. Not everyone deserves your softness. Some people only understand strength, and until you stop giving in to every demand, you'll stay stuck in a cycle of burnout and disappointment. Draw the line, and don't just draw it, defend it. Because when you start protecting your energy like it's sacred, everything changes. Your focus sharpens, your purpose clears, your peace grows stronger, and the people who truly value you will rise to meet your standards, not expect you to drop them. This isn't about becoming cold. It's about becoming conscious. Conscious of who drains you, who distracts you, who disrespects your time, your boundaries, your purpose. Life is short and energy is currency. You can't afford to waste it on people who don't invest in you. Being nice doesn't mean being naive. Being kind doesn't mean being used. You can lead with heart without losing your edge. In fact, your edge is what protects your heart. There comes a moment when you realize your softness has been mistaken for weakness one too many times. And in that moment, you make a choice. You stop playing the peacemaker when there's no war worth your fight. You stop saying, I'm okay when you're not. You stop staying silent when your voice can change the room. And you stop asking for permission to be who you already are. Because the truth is, you never needed approval. You needed courage. And courage lives in action. In the decision to rise even when doubt is loud, in the choice to walk alone rather than follow a crowd that's headed nowhere, in the refusal to settle for less than what you deserve. Every time you show up fully, unapologetically, you remind the world and yourself that your voice matters, that your mission matters, that your energy is not up for negotiation. You are not here to be everyone's solution. You are not here to rescue people who won't save themselves. You are here to rise. And sometimes rising means letting go of people who guilt trip you for growing, letting go of habits that keep you safe but small, letting go of stories that convince you to stay quiet, play nice, and wait your turn. No, your time is now. Your power is now. And the more you own it, the more unstoppable you become. It's okay to outgrow people. It's okay to be misunderstood. It's okay to choose discomfort now for peace later. Growth is never painless, but neither is regret. You can't please everyone, but you can honor yourself. And that's the only approval that truly matters.